Man, Meghan looks a lot different when she thinks the cameras aren't watching. Welcome to Popcorn Palace.
Look at this photo. Look at her face. That's not a woman humbled by the privilege of meeting sick children. That's a glare. Pure ice. The mask slipped and we caught it. There are images circulating right now from the Australia trip that the PR machine absolutely did not want you to see. And you know just like I know that when these photos start getting scrubbed, when the comments start getting deleted, that's when you've struck a nerve. That's when you found the truth they buried. The mainstream outlets won't touch this. People magazine certainly won't. But we're going there because someone has to. There's one image in particular that's been making the rounds. It shows Meghan, Harry, and a group of children at a hospital. And at first glance, it looks like your standard royal walkabout, right? Smiles, waves, the whole performance. But then you look closer. You see this one little girl. She's tiny, she's clearly unwell, and she is not having it. Harry bends down to talk to her, and the kid wants absolutely nothing to do with him. That's actually not the scandal. Kids are unpredictable, that happens. Here's the thing though. In the video, you can watch Meghan in the background, talking to another child. She clocks that Harry is struggling to connect, and what does she do? She immediately ends her own conversation, stands straight up, swings around, and physically inserts herself between Harry and this child. Kills the moment dead. She couldn't stand not being the center of the frame for 3 seconds.
That's how she's trying to present herself. But this kid wanted nothing to do with Harry. And at some point, Harry did get her talking, and Meghan was next in the video. You can see it. Meghan's next talking to the other kid. She immediately ends the conversation, stands up, turns around, and interjects herself into that conversation again. And kills what's going on between Harry and the kid.
Not 3 seconds. And this is the part nobody talks about. Those children. You saw them. Some of them still had IVs attached. Nurses have come forward, real medical professionals, and they're furious.
Frustration?
As a nurse, I can tell you that these children, if they're having chemotherapy, are probably, and some of the kids still had IVs attached to them, and with the pumps and everything on the pole, they're probably immunocompromised. And don't forget that I think it was last month, Meghan went to the hospital by her house and to take pictures with those kids, and she wore the mask. But this is different because they're in Australia, and she's trying to act like she's a member of the royal family, and she's wearing the appropriate nail polish, and her hair is sleek, and her outfit is just so. And because that's
Sue Smith, who's been covering this extensively, is a nurse herself, and she laid it out plain. These kids, if they're on chemotherapy, are immunocompromised. Their bodies cannot fight off a common cold, let alone whatever 2 people just dragged in from a commercial international flight. Here's what makes this cross from tone deaf into something far darker. Last month, when Meghan visited a hospital near her home in California, she wore a mask, covered up, took precautions. But that was a local visit. No global press, no glossy magazine spread waiting. In Australia, the masks came off. Every single one. The children, the parents, Harry, Meghan, all the precautions, gone. Because you can't get the cover of People magazine if they can't see your sleek hair and your appropriate nail polish. Actually, wait, let me rephrase that. It's not that you can't get the cover, it's that the cover matters more than the children. That's the calculation. And we all knew this. You already know what I'm about to say. These aren't visits, they're human photo ops. Those sick kids were used as props.
Else.
Correct.
And so they put all these kids, health in jeopardy and use them as props. They're using these sick kids as props. It infuriates me, Sue. Do you share that?
And you can get angry at me for saying it, call me a troll, call me a bully, they always do. But look at those images and tell me I'm wrong. Tell me that little girl looks like she felt comforted. Tell me those parents weren't just shuffled through like extras on a film set. Now here's where it gets interesting. Because this trip to Australia, it's not happening in a vacuum. The timing on this is, well, you'll see. Their Netflix deal is dead, Spotify dropped them, their Limonada project evaporated, her American Riviera Orchard Jam, which they're now calling As Ever, it's just not selling. This is a brand in free fall. They've lost the streaming deals that were keeping their lifestyle afloat, and now they're reinventing themselves again, doing what can only be called the half-in, half-out thing. pretending to be working royals without any of the actual work, without the crown's permission, and frankly, without any of the class that the institution demands. So they touch down in Australia, and what do they prioritize? A children's hospital, which you'd think is admirable, immediately followed by a reality TV cooking show. A hospital and then MasterChef, sick kids and then primetime. That tells you everything you need to know about their priorities. Everything.
TV appearance on a reality show. Look, MasterChef is not like the cheesiest of shows. It's a fun show. I can't knock it fully, but again, it just goes to what their priorities are, right? Because get that children's hospital and now get to work.
Let's talk about that MasterChef appearance, because the footage is almost painful to watch. They announced her like she was a visiting deity. Flashing lights, the slow motion model walk, left hip, left hip. She stepped in front of all the other judges. Couldn't just stand with them, had to be in front. And the audience was given cue cards, play cards, instructed to go wild. And they did, because they were told to. But then the real comments started pouring in on the Daily Mail, and they were brutal, absolutely brutal. Well, there goes the show. What in the hell made you think to bring that woman on? You just tanked it. The people are not buying what she's selling anymore, and she knows it. That's why she keeps painting herself as the most bullied person in the entire world. The victim, always the victim.
And that's why she's out there, always making herself painted as the most bullied person in the entire world. We're literally at war. My president, I think, is probably the most bullied, hated person in the world right now, if I'm really being honest. I think both sides would agree, even he would agree. He probably is at this point, deserved or not. It's just hilarious to me that Meghan is putting herself above all, like, the stuff that's happening in our
but that's
she is
typical
not
for
a bullied person.
I need you to stay with me here. Think about the sheer narcissism it requires to stand in a room full of children battling for their lives. Children who might not see next Christmas. Children whose parents are living a waking nightmare, and still believe that you are the one who is persecuted. That you are the world's biggest victim. We're literally at war. Economies are collapsing. Families can't afford groceries. And this woman wants us to believe her biggest problem is that people were mean to her on the internet. She's done nothing to deserve being paraded around like some kind of global humanitarian icon. Nothing. She was a briefcase girl on Deal or No Deal. She acted on a cable show that nobody watched until it reran on Netflix. She married a prince. That's the resume. That's the expertise. And yet she's seated at tables with world leaders and actual experts, and now judging cooking competitions, sitting there like she earned any of it.
The world.
That's typical for narcissists. She only sees the world through her eyes. She's a victim. She's a victim. Everybody should love her, and she's a victim. They put her on that show. Her own show flopped. They dubbed her Salmonella Sussex because of her deplorable kitchen skills. She can't use a knife correctly. And her own show was a disaster, and yet they put her on MasterChef Australia? Like, really?
And the reason for that? Well, you'll see. I want to slow down for just a second here. Just talk to you directly, person to person. Because I know what some of you might be thinking. That this channel just hates Meghan Markle. That we pile on. And I get why that narrative exists, but that's not what this is about for me. What bothers me, what genuinely keeps me up, is the performance. It's the idea that charity is only valid if it's captured on a camera. That goodness only counts if it builds your personal brand. I know people who are truly charitable. The ones who give quietly, who don't issue press releases, who show up without a camera crew. They don't look like this. They don't act like this. The people who need the most help, the sick kids, struggling families, they become background actors in someone else's movie. That bothers me. It should bother you too.
The more and more. And what's also really frustrating is how she always has to do this with a camera crew there. Like, for people that I know are really charitable, they don't talk about it. They just do it. You know what I mean?
What good is the charity if you don't capture it on camera?
Right. That's their show up.
All right. I've said my piece. Let's get back to it. Because here's what they don't want you to know. The House of Cards is collapsing. Netflix has been sitting on that Meet Me at the Lake adaptation for 3 years. 3 years! The same author sold a different book to Amazon, and it's already in production. Already! That tells you Hollywood knows the stink is on them. The Spotify deal is gone. The Lemonada deal is gone. Her as-ever products aren't moving. This Australia trip, the hospital, the reality show, it's not a victory lap. It's a desperate attempt to stay relevant. They're doing the royal thing without being royal, the celebrity thing without any hit projects, the philanthropist thing without any tangible results. It's all smoke, and the fire is already out.
Listen, what it comes down to is they've lost, I don't care what anybody's saying, they've lost their Netflix deal. Netflix is pretty much done. I mean, they've got that show that they're working on, Meet Me at the Lake. That same author sold a different book. And within 1 year to Amazon, it's already in production. This other book has been sitting there for 3 years. Their Netflix deal is over. Their Spotify deal is over. Their Lemonada deal is over. Her as-ever products are just not selling. It's over for her.
The comments online tell the real story. People are disgusted. The real people, not the curated comments on People magazine's website that all sound like they were written by the same PR intern. The actual public has turned. They see through the glare, through the staged hugs, through the model walk. And what I find so fascinating, so infuriating, is that anyone who points this out gets labeled a hater, a troll, a bully. That's the shield. That's what keeps them alive. The victim narrative is their only remaining currency. She has no actual achievements left to sell, so she sells her persecution. And as long as we're quiet, as long as we're afraid of being called names, the performance continues unchecked. But not anymore. We're seeing the photos now, we're sharing them, we're talking about them, and no amount of comment scrubbing or glossy magazine puff pieces can undo what's already burned into our minds. The glare, the kids with IVs, the masks suddenly gone, the reality show strut. And you know, just like I know, that this is who she really is when the cameras aren't supposed to be watching. So I'll leave you with this. They've lost the Netflix deal, they've lost Spotify, the products aren't selling. What happens when the money runs out and the cameras finally leave for good? What's left then? Because the royal family isn't taking them back. Hollywood is losing interest. The public has soured. And when you've burned every bridge, used every sick child as a prop, and alienated everyone who ever genuinely tried to help you, what are you left with? Just a glare into an empty room. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I read them, and I know a lot of you have been following this longer than I have. Tell me if you've seen something like this before, or if this feels different. Subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that bell, because we're not stopping. We're going to keep showing you the photos they don't want seen, and telling the stories they want buried. That's a